First of all, thank you for invitation to be part of this important conference, and I will share with you my insights on the challenges, opportunities, and obstacles on the way to ending discrimination and coercion in the field of psychiatry. My background is medical background. I'm a psychiatrist, and when I was a young doctor, I was thinking that, well, something is wrong. The psychiatry should not betray the main principle of medicine, which I think is first do no harm. But my thinking was maybe narrow at that time because I was obsessed on my region. And I was living in totalitarian country, which was Soviet Union, so I thought this is why Soviets lock all people, so that to hide them and to tell during Cold War that we are a happy country and you are suffering from capitalism. So that was the game at that time, and my understanding was that in liberal democracies all these problems are solved. So then I became special rapporteur, and first 3 years I was exploring the global picture because my reports could not be regional; they had to be global. So I traveled a lot to all possible, to all continents, and from 2017 I produced and presented to UN Human Rights Council several reports, not only on mental health, but most of them on mental health and human rights, and other activities. So those who are interested, you may find in the link. And then my rapporteurship was over, so what now? Then COVID, and I was starting to forget these very intensive years when I had from 20 to 30 travels per year. But unexpectedly, from 22, 23, and now I am often invited to different countries. I was in Brazil, Australia, Japan, and several times to Norway and many other countries. As a former now special rapporteur, and I'm happy to contribute to this discourse, which is hard talk, as we know, and it's like a draw. I don't know this word impasse. I did not know. Now I know this word impasse. Sometimes we feel that we are losing. Sometimes we feel that we are winning. So this is sometimes this field is like a thriller, and actually my reports for me was interesting to observe because it was so interesting to have responses mainly either very positive or very negative, and so how these experts cannot agree what is right and what is wrong. And I told to Tina today that Tina maybe was the only one who told, well, okay, but this you could do better. So thank you, Tina, because it was only black and white responses. One of my contributions was to oppose this concept, very popular concept of global burden of mental diseases, which I think adds to further medicalization. And instead, in maybe provocative way, to present the concept of global burden of obstacles for realization of right to mental health. And the main groups of the main obstacles which I identified are very well known for us. These are dominance of biomedical model and overuse of biomedical interventions. Well, we could be very interesting discussion, overuse or use of biomedical. I'm still, as a doctor, I am on the position overuse of biomedical model and interventions is wrong. Then power asymmetries, which, as we know, disempower not only users of mental health services, which is very, very sad, but they also disempower non-medical mental health professionals because of this power asymmetries and this part of the game that doctors, they are always right. They know better, or they pretend that they know more. And then biased use of knowledge and evidence, which amounts to corruption of knowledge. We still read in textbooks, and students are still taught all these theories about chemical imbalances in the brain, which were never the theory which was never proven. So this is biased use of knowledge and evidence, and all this together creates obstacles and creates the situation when psychiatric interventions may do more harm than good. And this is a very, very, very sad story. Those who are interested may find the article written by Nordic, I think it's Nordic contribution, Jeppe Ote and Susan McPherson. Actually, this is about analysis of responses to my reports. And so it's to other people, not to me, to analyze what were responses to my reports. But I think it's quite interesting paper. So this was my contribution, but it only complemented in modest way all the solid cluster of documents which we have as very good advocacy tools. And I will not stop on this table. You know all these documents, 4 very powerful resolutions of UN Human Rights Council. Human Rights Council can be very nasty on human rights, and we know composition of states, you know, but on mental health and human rights, surprisingly and luckily, Human Rights Council is leader globally, and these resolutions are very, very powerful and good, not often forgotten in countries for some reasons. Then CRPD, of course, committee, and Tina was talking about the general comment one and other things, and many other documents, including during last year, WHO moved also to the side of rhetorics, wedding that this legacy of coercion and over-medicalization should be abandoned. So we have even WHO on other side, which I did not expect when I was Special Rapporteur, but the documents of 21 and 23, they are really, again, could be better, but I think have a very, very good wedding. So in total, all these documents urge UN member states to move away from legacy of discrimination, social exclusion, stigmatization, institutionalization, coercion, over-medicalization. This diagnosis of the system is well done, and I did this in reports, many other experts did, and we know that there are many clouds gathering over this promise of biological psychiatry 40 years ago to solve many problems. This led to a total failure, and this is recognized by many experts. No progress in search of biomarkers, despite billions invested in brain research. Pathologization of diversity, medicalization of feelings, dramatic increase in prescribing psychotropic medication with no positive effects, also coming to child and adolescent mental health. Coercion, despite, even in those countries where there are more investments in mental health, coercion is on the rise within mental health services globally, both in global north and global south. So the idea that biological psychiatry will destigmatize, will stop discrimination, and stop coercion, failed. And it's even going to the other way around, because coercion is used very often, as we know, for involuntary measures for so-called medical necessity. Yes, so the only single purpose is to give medications by force, and this does not work. So my sub-region, Central Eastern Europe, used a lot of EU funds when the countries of Eastern Europe became EU member states, to modernize big psychiatric hospitals and big institutions. So instead of changing system, they invested a lot of money to lock people in maybe a little bit better conditions than these were very appalling conditions. So people still are locked. And what is very worrying, and when I talk with young doctors, they dream about new eugenics, how they will cure mental diseases with some, molecular genetics and so on. So it's really not funny and very sad to listen to such dreams. It's like there is no cure from autism so far, that maybe we will find cure from autism, and of course from schizophrenia and so on. So this is sad part of this course, and it looks like lessons from painful past of psychiatry seem to be forgotten. So to conclude this diagnostic part, mental health systems and channels of funding, as we know, but we have to convince others, politicians, doctors, and general society at large, I should say, general public, that all these arguments for coercion are not based on evidence. So they based again on this stigma. I think that people are dangerous. Yes, this is why I'm a lock. Or so this either dangerousness or medical necessity. So both arguments are not based on evidence. And interesting discussion about experts is about comparison of global north and global south. And you may also, during your discussions with friends and colleagues, can discuss where obstacles are more serious, in global south or global north. You may say that global north has more money, yes, but it has also more resistance to change, because it has a very powerful lobby of psychiatry, which so in global south may be easier to go to these alternatives, so-called alternatives. And so no progress since famous World Health Report 22 years ago, which was initiated by famous Norwegian Miss Brundtland. Yeah, Brundtland, she was director of WHO, and she pushed this then famous World Health Report about new approaches to mental health. So no progress after that. We should discuss if there is any progress with alternatives in Norway, for example, or in other countries after these WHO documents. So governments should take WHO documents and invest in alternatives and replicate them. But as we know, there are often other scenarios. This is my maybe simplifies the way of presenting impasse. So two groups of experts are opposing each other, like on the left you see classical views of classical psychiatry, that it's even duty of psychiatrists to act even in involuntary way, and they like to emphasize some very special cases and then ask people like me, so what will you do in this case? You don't know? So shut up. We know. And yes, and we have to think better how to find arguments in this way. Yes, theoretically I agree that each case of coercive measure is a failure, is a illustration of failure of the system. And we should discuss about each case how things should be done differently. And what is lacking, money or training or other things. But on the other side, there's an increasing number of diverse people, experts, not by lived experience, but also professionals. Some percentage of psychiatrists, maybe not very big percentage, but still there are who tell, no, let's stop this unfortunate marriage of psychiatry and violence, yes, of psychiatry and force. And so we know all these so-called alternatives. We know the table, the 22 good practices, like example from WHO. And we know one of main obstacles, this is position of psychiatric profession, and its leadership. And the tactical question is always how to manage. Shall we try to go forward without psychiatry, which may be risky, or with psychiatry, which also may be risky. So just to think, and worrying sign is that usually psychiatry, when we discuss, they simply ignore CRPD. And if you read textbooks, you will find that same wording: mental diseases, mental illness, how to find cure, how to increase effectiveness of treatment, as if CRPD does not exist. So this is a sad reality. There are many avenues for change. Of course, legal is the main issue. What is urged by CRPD and by CRPD committee, I agree. But we also have to look for other avenues to make these rights-based alternatives more prevalent and more popular among general public and among politicians. Maybe one of my contributions, which I did during my last report in 2020, and I would like to come back with some expert to discuss the WHO list of essential medicines, because this is a very important list. And when I was going to any country and asking minister how it is with mental health services in your country, the minister was proudly announcing that psychotropic medications are available, sir, so this means that everything is okay. So this is what happened with official, because psychotropic medications are in the list of essential medicines, and psychosocial interventions are not in the list. There is no such list. So if you have psychotropic medication, means you are okay. And for many doctors, it's obvious that psychotropic medication is a first-line treatment in most of mental health conditions, which is not according to evidence. And we should ask unpopular question, maybe it's time to remove this chapter on psychotropic medications from the list of essential medicine, because in my view, psychotropic medications are not life-saving medications. But this is one of issues which is not still discussed. To conclude, I should think that coercion contributes in a negative way to this vicious cycle, or trap, which is still in global psychiatry, which is combination of power asymmetries, discrimination, coercion, over-medicalization, helplessness. And if we think, is coercion cause or effect of all this? So both. When we have a vicious cycle, so this phenomena is both cause and outcome of failure. So I think that it's okay to lose some battles. Some battles we're losing, some battles we're winning, but the process, this very interesting what is happening in global mental health is going on, and such a conference like this is very important, and I wish all of you success, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dainius. It was, as always, a pleasure to listen to you. I will address one question that has arrived before this conference, because we have chosen a 100% rights-based focus on this conference and not on alternatives and the need of alternatives and support. There is a reason for this, because our rights and fundamental freedoms, cannot be dependent on psychiatrists' will to give us alternatives. So even though this is a big part of the discourse in Norway and worldwide, I think, and we do acknowledge the importance of the building of support systems, still this is our right to freedom, basically, freedom from torture, freedom, must belong to us, not to the power of psychiatry, which also is what you described very well here, Mr. Pūras.